I think this is the 7th year of our coach certification in India.
I think you're right. Yeah.
And
Wow.
we have trained around 250 people.
Yeah. Yeah.
One of the questions that largely people ask is, how is this program really different? And I thought I would ask this question to you.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, I think the main thing is that you and I have always talked about, and also do in our businesses, the deep transformational work. And so this coaching model that we teach is not just at the transactional level. It also goes deeper than that, and it's a lot of coaching programs will talk about results and talk about performance, and we talk about those things. But the deeper part of coaching that we talk about is, how does it connect with the deeper part of the individual? How does it connect with the deeper part of the organization? And so when we can bring that element into it, which is different, the coaching is much more powerful, and much more transformational, to the point of not just being hip hip hooray for today, but how does this actually have legs? How does this have sustainability when a person comes back out of training? And so you've heard a lot of reports, you know, people going back to their organizations and bringing a culture there now that's different, supporting high potentials to their growth in a faster manner, more honoring manner. So I think that's one of the key elements. I think the one that's also connected to that is the idea of the holistic part. It's about the whole person.
Yeah.
It's about the whole system. And I know that's one of your favorites.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
It's if you change this, but it also has an impact on this.
That's right. That's right.
And so we are very cognizant of that. And so the people that graduate from this or get certified in this also have the capacity to bring that element into their coaching. Yeah.
So it resonates very well with me, particularly because you know, you see all these leadership books which says that you got to do these 5 things or 3 things or 7 things, but everybody would be doing those 7 things, but some people get results and some did not get results. And what touched me when I went through the coach certification with you almost 10 years ago is what you mentioned about the being and the doing part of it.
True.
While I feel there is a lot of emphasis about doing in corporations, and what attracted to me was when you emphasize the being part of it, and that connects well when you talk about the whole person.
True, true. And again, the doing is important in corporations.
Right.
It is, and so that's handled to do that. Almost all coach trainings will do that part. The being part gets to that deeper level again. Who do you want to be as you're doing? Who are you most meant to be? Who's your authentic? Is your authentic self coming out, or is some sort of a robot coming out and you're doing this? Whether it's training or finance or HR or whatever. And so when we can bring the being to it and customize it, that's magic.
Interesting. I know that most coach programs will help you to explore and discover your coachee or a client.
True.
But when I went through your program, one of the most striking features of that is the time that you have spent on helping us discover ourselves. The coach going through the whole process of discovering self and my own authentic self.
Yes. Yes.
Why would you bring that and spend? Do you think that will really make us much more powerful coaches?
Absolutely. I've seen that. I've been doing this for 18 years. 7 here in India. But the sense of self and the sense of bringing my authentic self to my work, whether it's a coach or as a CEO or as an HR director, I think that the true mastery of a coach, 10% of it ultimately is the structure, is the competencies, is the skills of being able to listen, able to ask powerful questions. But the key, the real key, 90% of the masterful coach being authentic themselves. Are they showing up? Are they a place of trustworthiness? Are they a place of supporting a person's true development? Or are they, again, just coming from some sort of a book formula? And they are much less effective coming from that place.
That's interesting. So now with all your experience, and I think yours was, I think, the 6th coach certification institutes that started in the world before all these things came up, which is one of the things that I always got really. So you have been doing this for such a long time.
Yes.
Where do you see this evolving now? What's next? What is a 2.0 or a 3.0 coaching which will be? Yeah.
That's a great question. And I think that while I've been involved with it for the last 18 years, I think that coaching, frankly, is just beginning worldwide. Now, it's developed significantly over the last 7 years because of your efforts. But in Europe, it's been around for 20 years, in the United States now for 20 years. And even there, I think that we're just scratching the surface. And I think that because when we talk about human beings and human endeavors and the human spirit always wants to know more about how they can be better worldwide. It doesn't matter the culture. And coaching has the opportunity, and I think the privileged place within the support structure, is to develop people to their fullest potential. Now, we've been talking about this since the 60s.
That's right, that's right. Yeah, that's where all it began.
and maybe before that.
That's right.
I mean, it's not a new concept.
That's right.
But the idea of an individual now living healthily into their 80s, 90s, 100s, having a career that spans decades, it becomes more and more important, and they have more and more time to develop that personal sense of self, that authentic self. And when they can do that, and they can be supported in that from a non-judgmental place, and a place that I have no agenda with you. If you're my client, I have no agenda, other than having you be the most magnificent Santhosh that you can be. That's different. And so I think that's why we're just beginning to scratch the surface of going from what a lot of coaches do and have been trained to do, is that
performance,
task-oriented, skill-oriented, and it's good stuff, but there's so much more than that.
That's right.
It's like, okay, so are you living your life's work? Are you doing your life's work? Are you making your own decisions? Are you conscious of what you're doing? I mean, I know a great thing that you've been involved in for a long time is mindfulness.
That's right.
So how do we bring mindfulness to the individual? How do we support them to understand who they are, what they're about, and what their contribution is back to the world? And that is exciting work.
I have one more question for you today evening, Peter. Many people, when they decide to go through this coach certification program, they call up and ask me, do you think I could be a good coach? Some of them even send their CV to me, saying that these are the things that I've done in my life, so can you really look at it critically and tell me if I could be a good coach? So tell me, who could be a good coach?
That's almost a setup question. That's interesting. I'll give you my answer, and I'm more interested in your answer to that. And I'll ask you that. My answer to that has nothing to do with your CV. It has everything to do with who you are as a human being. Are you interested in seeing people thrive? Are you supporting people? Have you supported people all of your life, whether it's in your community or your family or your company, to support people to grow, support people to understand who they are, to make their own decisions? Do you have a sense of compassion? Because the human experience and the human journey is tough sometimes. And do you have a compassion for supporting an individual through the tough times? I think those are some of the more key elements. It's not a degree. It's not even necessarily the context of your job in the function or the vertical or the industry or the space that you've been in. That helps, but for me it's not the key to being a great coach. A great coach is compassionate. They love supporting people to thrive. And if you have those two things, the rest is gravy.
Interesting.
Well, what do you say to them?
Couple of things. In fact, I was not really being a good listener when you were talking, because I was thinking that this question is going to come to me now. So I had to answer that. Wrong behavior from my side. But some of the things that came up is, a kind of a possibility-seeking attitude.
Yeah.
Rather than problem-seeking attitude.
Love that one. Yes.
There's always a human possibility.
Yes.
Am I operating from the highest possibility for myself, and am I willing to support the other person to operate from the best version of himself and the highest possibility, which to me is a great one. And connected with that is, am I really willing to look within, which is what I call the mindfulness or reflective. And if I change that into some of the behavior pattern, I would say non-judgmental and listening.
Yes.
And that's where I do believe what you said at CV is not really important, because these are human basic qualities that we all have.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. You know, as you say that in terms of, you know, the curiosity, the possibility, as opposed to, you know, focusing on what do you want as opposed to what you're trying to get away from or trying to, you know, fix. The idea that the coach is, I would say, almost innately curious. They're, tell me more. What's happening? What's going on? What do you really like? What do you want? And get into the guts of it. Again, the deep part, not just the superficial answer that might come back initially, but the deeper. And yeah, so for those that might be listening to this, the question then becomes, you know, is this right for me? And, you know, are you looking for a holistic training? Are you looking for something that goes deeper than the superficial, task-oriented doingness of life? And do you have a personality that is innately curious, that's looking towards the possibility to support an individual to move through, you know, their life's journey, their corporate journey, in a manner that's mindful, that's supportive for them and their organization? And you and I have trained a lot of those people now. Top level people, C-level people, C-1 people, HR directors, learning and development people. And they go back into their organizations, and a lot of them have become really excellent internal coaches. Yeah.
Great.
Wow.
And what we should not tell the people who are watching this is that some people actually resign and chase their dreams after your training. So
you make them a better person.
That's right. So be careful. Thank you, Peter. It was such a lovely talk.
Pleasure.
And I'm sure that we continue this journey, and more people will be there.
That's awesome.
Thank you.